Shalom, giving all praises to the Heavenly Father Yahweh and His only begotten Son Yahweh. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect members of the nation of Israel. Those of you who are of Negroid and Native Indian descent of North, Central, and South America and the Caribbean islands, spread throughout the four corners of the earth, settled amongst all nations, looking and behaving like all nations, for in you dwelleth the spirit of an Israelite. Okay, today's video, just a brief moment in history, if you will. I want to go into the man Oliver Cromwell, you know, who he is and what role in history he played when it came to our people, and a little history about Europe. Okay, without further ado, let's get into it. Oliver Cromwell was an English soldier and statesman who led parliamentary forces in the English Civil Wars, aka the Great Rebellion, the year 1642 through 51, which was the fighting that took place in the British Isles between the supporters of the monarchy of Charles I, Charles II, and the opposing groups in each of his kingdoms. This monarchy was the Royal House of Stuart. Originating in Scotland in 1371 AD, the Stuarts were monarchs of the British Isles until Queen Anne of 1714. With the execution of King Charles I, this aided Cromwell to help in the overthrow of the Stuart monarchy, which was a long line of so-called black kings and queens. Okay, what I'm going to do now is go to the book, The Negro Question, Part 4, The Missing Link. I'm going to go to pages 8, 9, and 10. Okay, for example, this is a picture of King James. Okay, the king who gave authorization to have the Holy Scriptures translated into the King's English from the Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. Okay, he is a so-called Negro. Okay, a so-called Negro, and I'm gonna read what I have highlighted here. It says, King James came from a long line of black Scottish Stuart kings, 343 years of rulership in Scotland. The Stuarts not only ruled in Scotland, they ruled France, Spain, Ireland, and England, Britain, and Wales. King James was able to rule all of these lands because all of these people were of Iberian descent. Iberian meaning Hebrew, when you go into that word. They were the same people. Okay, and here's a list on page 9 of the Scottish kings from the House of Stuart. Okay, you have Robert II and you have Robert III. You have King James the First, Second, Third, Fourth, and Fifth. Okay, you have Mary, Queen of Scots. Then you have James VI, which is King James, the King James of the Holy Bible. King James VI and First of England. Charles I, Charles II, King James and Mary. Then you have Anne of Great Britain and Scotland. It says, as you can see from this Scottish king's list, King James I of England was a descendant of the black Scottish kings who claimed the thrones of France, Spain, Ireland, England, Britain, Wales, and Scotland. Okay, and I'm also going to show you this picture of King James's son, King Charles I, so-called Negro. Okay. Now, going back to this man Oliver Cromwell, he served as Lord Protector of England, Wales, Scotland, and Ireland. Right? Now let's read a little bit about this guy. This is chapter 3 of the book, The Negro Question, part 4, The Missing Link. Chapter 3, Oliver Cromwell. And I'm just going to read the highlighted portions because that's going to disprove the point I'm making. Salakia. It reads, history records that after the execution of Charles I of Scotland and England, that Oliver Cromwell invaded Scotland, killed 4,000 men, and took 10,000 captive. Now we know, according to Esau history, he's never direct. So we know that he killed more than 4,000 men, and we know that more than 10,000 men were taken captive. Just to make that clear. These black Europeans were sent to Barbados, Boston, Charlestown, Cambridge, Concord, Hingham, Ipswich, Virginia, Newark, and the southern plantations. Okay. Let's jump to page 26. It says, in 1641, Cromwell had 300,000 black Irish sold into the North Atlantic slave trade, and in 1650, he had 100,000 Irish Scottish children sold into Barbados. Okay, and this is history, man. So so far, what am I saying? That not all so-called Negroes came from Africa. Okay, so which kills this African American stigma. All right, me personally, my father's side comes from Europe, so I can never be called an African American if I come from Europe. You know, it's just facts, man. We are spread throughout the four corners of the earth, as the scriptures say. Now let's jump to page 50, and I'm gonna drive home this point. Now this is a list that this author put together from his historical research from the so-called Negroes that was taken captive from Europe and where they were sent to. Okay, let's get into this. It says the Scottish captives were sent to Barbados, Boston, Charleston, Cambridge, Concord, Hingham, Ipswich, Virginia, New England, and Maryland. Now, the Irish captives were sent to the Amazon in the year 1612, the West Indies, Antigua, Montserrat, Virginia, New England, Barbados, Australia, Jamaica, and Guyana. Now, the captives from Wales, they were sent to Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Idaho, Tennessee, Ohio, and Rhode Island. Okay? Jumping over to page 52, I'm going to read more highlighted portions I have here. You know, just proving the point that all Negroes here in America do not come from Africa, let alone are African. Okay? We are not African. All the Negroes in this country and in the Caribbean islands, okay, you are not African. Not African. Now this right here is a little map that was put together, right, from the ships that came from Europe, started in Europe, and went down to the west coast of Africa, okay, and then proceeded into the Middle Passage. And I'm gonna read what's written here. Now it reads, slave ships leaving London ports carrying black European slaves, and it has on the map the starting point was Europe, okay, and it has a reference here from the NEGROLAND map, okay, the NEGROLAND map. And NEGROLAND, just to give a little history on that, NEGROLAND, or Negrita, was an archaic term in European mapping describing the inland and poorly explored region in West Africa as an area populated with Negro people. Not Africans, Negro people. Okay? That's just a little tidbit. But started from Europe and proceeded to NEGROLAND, which is on the west coast of Africa. Okay? It says ships landing in Africa carrying black Scots, black Irish, black Brits, pick up black Africans, Judah, Levi, and Benjamin as well, and proceeded to the Middle Passage. Now it says here, two groups arrive in America. The blacks from Europe and the blacks from Africa. Okay? Judites, Levites, and Benjamites. Okay? The kingdom of Judah. Okay? Who are known as Jews collectively. Okay? Now, it says, if you follow the arrows on this map I reference, it says you will see that the European black slaves from Britain, Ireland, France, England, and Scotland left Europe and then proceeded to West Africa, where the black Jews from the kingdom of Judah was waiting. They picked up a second load of black slaves, and with both loads, two different blacks from two different hemispheres, but we know that they are the same group of people that was scattered from the Roman persecution of 70 AD. We were scattered throughout the mountains. We scattered to Europe, Africa, and even as far as Asia. Okay? It says two different blacks from two different hemispheres, and proceeded to the markets in the Middle Passage, and from there they went to the slave plantations in America. The historical omission of these people are now complete. Okay? And that's just prophecy, man. This is prophecy that we were going to be scattered, for one, but the kingdom of Judah, or the Jews rather, were going to be brought to their people, the northern kingdom. Okay? Now let's pull that prophecy, and I'm going to close the video on that. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 33, verse 7. And it reads, and this is the blessing of Judah, or Yehwah. And he said, hear Yehwah, the voice of Judah, and bring him unto his people. Let his hands be sufficient for him, and be thou a help to him from his enemies. Okay? And we're going to rise up in these latter times, man, the house of Judah, the house of David. Okay? Both the northern and southern kingdom. Okay? The nation of Israel. I hope this video was edifying to the hopeful elect. May it move you unto repentance. Okay? Peace and salutation to the hopeful elect members of the nation of Israel. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Greatmillstone. Shalom.